This is the only fantastic beast I need. Say hi, buddy. What you doing, pal? You just chilling?
Say hi to the people.
What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. Tomorrow, the third entry of the Fantastic Beasts franchise hits theaters. Today, we are going to talk about it. I need you in the comments down below. How did you feel about the first two movies? And if you want to stick around, this weekend, we may have a very special tier list regarding this franchise. But right now, I want to talk about this movie spoiler-free. So, Professor Dumbledore knows the powerful dark wizard Grindelwald is moving to seize control of the wizarding world. Unable to stop him alone, he entrusts Newt Scamander to lead a team of wizards, witches, and one brave Muggle on a dangerous mission where they encounter old and new beasts and clash with Grindelwald's growing legion of followers. But with the stakes this high, how long can Dumbledore remain on the sidelines? This is, of course, firmly in the wizarding world. Let's start with the rating. That is PG-13 for some fantasy, action, violence, a couple of scenes involving the beasts that can be sad. They may not traumatize kids, but they are a little darker, so firmly in that PG-13 category, but in a way, a movie that families can watch. And just my relationship on the first two films, I enjoyed the first. I thought it set up a lot of nice things to carry into the future. Didn't quite get the payoff that I needed in the second film. Obviously, they're building to a lot of things that we get in this third movie, but there were certain plot points and elements that just didn't entirely work for me, so I wasn't the biggest fan. I'm not going to say it's terrible, but I just didn't really like the second movie. This film, bringing in Mads Mikkelsen to play Grindelwald, keeping that charm with Newt Scamander, Eddie Redmayne doing a nice job as he always does as this character. But then, of course, Jude Law as Dumbledore, who is, obviously, his name's in the title of the movie, but much more firmly the focus, at least that relationship between he and Grindelwald at the beginning of this film, but they keep that through line all throughout to where it creates for more of a focused story compared to the second, even if they don't quite dive into some of these storylines like I wished they would have, right? We get so many opportunities to tell us more about the relationship between two characters, whether it be hitting on a very simple plot point or just kind of giving us those very brief moments between Queenie and Jacob. I'm sitting back going, even though I like the fact that the focus is simplified in this movie, I would like to expand on a couple of these relationships just a bit more to make you care about these characters on a level that I did, and here we go, making the comparison with the actual Harry Potter films. Now, those movies, they definitely had a distinct advantage because they were coming-of-age stories. A lot of people grew up with those characters. They were able to see them grow into their own by the final film in the franchise. With this franchise, because the second movie was so disappointing and the overall vibe and tone of the film can't quite weave in the lightheartedness with the darkness as well as that franchise, when you're making that comparison, it's just difficult to do. Can it stand on its own 2 feet? Does it work as well as something like Harry Potter? I think the common consensus there is no, but even standing alone as a trilogy, now we have 3 movies, do you care as much as maybe Warner Brothers wants you to care to continue this and do 3 to 4 more films? I'm going to go ahead and answer no. Now, does this third movie bring about things and improve on elements from the second film? Absolutely. But I look at like 1 or 2 characters and think, yeah, they were awesome. They crushed it. Again, I think Dan Fogler as Jacob is great, and I really like the relationship that they established in the first one. And then they kind of went a different direction in that one, and they're trying to bring it back home here, but they don't really give it any time to progress. So by the time you get to the end, when they try to give you this big payoff with that story, I'm thinking to myself, I don't care as much as they want me to care, and that's so disappointing because it is a nice story in itself, and someone like a Dan Fogler is so good. Like, he's clearly the comedy relief in this movie, and he gets his handful of moments. He's almost become an afterthought in the grand scheme of things, even though he is a really good side character, one of my absolute favorites. But even Newt is, it's Eddie Redmayne. He's like the guy in this franchise, and they keep coming back to him like he's the guy. But I didn't really feel a lot of development from his character. The only real relationship that is explored and that is built up in a nice way here is that of Dumbledore and Grindelwald, who again is integral. Mikkelsen, even though maybe the idea of Mikkelsen coming in, I'm like, okay, all right, Warner Brothers, let's see what happens here. he's really good in the role. Whether you like him coming in for Johnny Depp or not, he's great in this film. He has this subtlety and almost a lack of spark, but it provides a spark for this character in this franchise. And you understand that they can't confront each other physically. So they're sending out their individual armies to do their dirty work. And all of this is revolving around this election and a little bit of a political touch to this film to where it feels like a political thriller at times. And that's what stands out to me about this film. It's not what we almost grew to love about the first two movies. It's more so the pivots that they made. That's what I liked about this movie. But then it makes it feel inconsistent to the other movies, and it makes me look at this franchise as a whole and wonder if they actually had this all planned out. I look at Ezra Miller's character, Credence, someone they continue to give this screen time to, even though it's yet another character that somewhat feels like an afterthought, but it's this integral character and this massive moment in the third act, and it all plays such a big role in the story, and I don't know if it's Ezra Miller's presence or just the entirety of what they've done with that character, but I could have cared less about the character of Credence. I did not care. Every time Credence pops up, I'm like, oh, it's Credence again. I don't care. And I don't want to be asking these questions as I'm watching this movie. I don't want to be saying to myself, why is Newt here? Like, I know why he's here, and I get that relationship with Dumbledore, but why? It feels like he's just there because he was set up in the first film. Now, I know it sounds like I'm being extremely negative talking about these characters being expendable, but there were so many good things about this film that could have elevated it to that next level. I didn't know I needed a political thriller in the Harry Potter universe. I didn't know I needed to flesh out this relationship between Jude Law's Dumbledore and Mads Mikkelsen's Grindelwald. Those are all things that surprised me in a good way. And we get some battles, especially one in the third act, that was genuinely super entertaining. I was loving every moment and really respecting and appreciating the visuals here. While the music isn't as good as the Harry Potter films, it's still good. And we've come to a point to where they can handle all of this wizard madness on screen, and every single effect looks fantastic. The movie as a whole looks fantastic. And that's kind of getting into David Yates and his love, his feel for this franchise. You can tell from the writing that this was a distinctly different film from the last because it all felt tighter. It felt like it fit more and flowed a bit better. It's just personally, the big problem I'm having trouble getting past is I don't care as much as they want me to care at this point. This story, as engaging as certain moments were, other moments, it just felt like characters talking to each other for the sake of getting to the next scene. And maybe that next scene was super interesting and entertaining. It just wasn't as consistent as I wanted it to be throughout this film, and then when you put it in this trilogy as a whole. But still, better than the second. If you are here and you liked what you saw, the best way to show your support is dropping that like down below. It helps the algorithm, and leave your comments about this film. The latest Fantastic Beasts entry is an improvement on the second, and certain moments are visually spectacular, but the story isn't as compelling as it needs to be. Mikkelsen and Law are good, and the political thriller route is solid, but it loses steam until a fun final act. I did a Harry Potter tier list a few months back. I will link it in the description and the comments down below. I would probably put this on the okay tier, and my score for this film will be a 62%. It's one that had a lot of good going for it until it started to lose steam throughout that second act. Ends off on a good note. I just didn't care as much as it wanted me to. Does that mean I'm against another film in the franchise? Absolutely not. I just don't care as much as I feel like I should with a lot of really great elements here. But I need your thoughts down below. How do you feel about this franchise as a whole? How do you feel about Harry Potter? Again, if you'd like to see me talk more Harry Potter, all of those videos are on my channel. You guys are the best. Appreciate it big time, and I'll be seeing you soon.